This story was submitted by an anonymous lady. My husband and I were going on vacation to Mackinac Island. We intended to spend the night at his aunt and uncle's house in Grayling on the way. My husband hadn't seen his aunt and uncle for several months, after they lost their only child, Lonnie. Lonnie had died in a tractor accident at home alone, while his parents were running errands. He was pinned between the trailer after the tractor walked up a tree stump. He was found dead at the scene several hours after it happened. When we arrived at the house, my husband's aunt gave us a short tour. Then we all sat down and ate dinner. After dinner, my husband's aunt said, "Don't be surprised if you hear things." My husband and I looked up and said, "What do you mean? Is something going on at the training camp?" There was Fort Grayling near the house, and we just assumed it was something from there. My husband's aunt hesitated, not wanting to tell us, then said, "Oh, sometimes the cabinet doors open and close, and you may smell coffee in the morning." So I said, "Oh, you don't have to get up and make coffee. I'm the only one that drinks it. I can do that myself." Because she knew we were leaving early in the morning. She said, "Oh, it won't be me making the coffee." My husband and I both looked at his uncle. He looked up and said, "It's not me making the coffee." His aunt chimed in, "It's Lonnie making the coffee." I asked her, "Are you sure you're not getting up and making coffee and don't remember?" She said, "No, that's Lonnie's routine, and he's still doing it." My husband's aunt said, "I hope by telling you this it's not scaring you or making you want to leave." And I told her, "No, it's okay. Where can I put these suitcases?" And she said, "I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to have you sleep in Lonnie's room." It was right off the kitchen. It was a medium-sized room, a plain boy's room. My husband was outside with his uncle, and they were looking at the place where this had happened. You could see it from the kitchen window. Nothing else was said about it. We all went to bed about 9 o'clock. It was about an hour and a half later. The house was quiet. My husband was sleeping on his side. He was on the side of the bed facing the door, and I was facing him. He was lightly snoring, and I had my arm draped across him. The door to the bedroom started to open. Slowly, the light started to flood into the room from the soft yellow nightlight in the kitchen. The door opened halfway. I was wide awake, but I stayed still. I felt a coolness on my wrist, and then a light pressure. Something was picking up my arm off my husband. I remained still. It was as if something or someone was looking at my wedding ring. This took about 15 seconds, which was a very long time. Then it gently started to lower my arm back onto my husband. About 45 seconds to a minute, the door began to close slowly. It was a peaceful experience. I wasn't scared. I was oddly calm. I had never met Lonnie, but he knew that his cousin had gotten married. I just fell asleep. Very early, before daylight, I awoke to the sound of the silverware drawer opening. I could hear the cabinet doors open. I heard the coffee pot brewing. I heard the cups being put onto the counter and then moved to the table. I could hear the lid being removed from the sugar bowl. I could smell the coffee. After waiting for him to finish, when everything was quiet, I climbed over my husband and got out of bed. The kitchen overhead light was on. The cabinet doors that held the coffee and cups were standing open. The silverware drawer was pulled out. A spoon was in the sugar bowl, and 3 cups were on the table. As I stood there, my husband's aunt came downstairs and said, "Oh, did you make coffee?" I told her no, I didn't.